PR.
At 3:55 p.m. this afternoon, Whitney Houston was pronounced at the Beverly Hilton Hotel.
I believe that somebody, my niece, just like her mother.
It starts with a revelation no one ever imagined would surface. For years, the world was told an official version of events, wrapped in carefully chosen words, assuring us that Whitney Houston's final hours were nothing more than a heartbreaking accident. But the FBI's newly unearthed cache of evidence tells a different story, one that doesn't just question the old narrative, it completely shatters it. Picture the scene, that famous suite at the Beverly Hilton, the night before the Grammys. A place that should have been a sanctuary for Whitney, a haven for one of the greatest voices the world has ever known. Instead, investigators now believe it may have been transformed into a stage, every object positioned, every detail arranged, as part of a chilling deception.
I had lived a life of fame and fortune and being in the, tabloids all the time.
The very idea is enough to shake us to the core. Whitney Houston was never just another star. She was the voice of a generation, the soundtrack to love, loss, and triumph. To even suggest that her final hours were manipulated into a cover-up feels like an assault on her legacy. Now the FBI is quietly using words no fan ever wanted to hear. Staged scene. That Beverly Hilton suite, sparkling bottles arranged just so, a spoon and foil laid out with suspicious precision, looked more like a set design than the chaos of real addiction. And here's the chilling detail. The toxicology didn't match the props. Which begs the question, was someone inside that room before officials arrived, scrubbing away the truth and replacing it with a narrative? This is where suspicion hardens, because whispers point not to strangers, but to insiders, those within the walls of power who had the most to lose if Whitney's reality came out. And at the center of that storm stands Clive Davis, the industry titan who carried on with his Grammy party just floors below, while the woman he discovered lay dead upstairs. For years, fans have asked the unthinkable. How could the celebration continue as if nothing happened? Was it cold indifference, or something ritualistic? Conspiracy murmurs of sacrificial contracts and secret industry ceremonies grow louder when artists like Jaguar Wright openly accuse Clive of controlling more than just careers. Outlandish, maybe. But in the shadows of music's biggest empire, the outrageous suddenly feels plausible.
That I have a very special connection with artists, with music. I certainly know I had it with him.
The narrative darkens further when we trace the unsettling patterns. Whitney Houston was found drowned in her bathtub in 2012. Just 3 years later, her daughter Bobby Christina met the same fate, unconscious in her own tub, never to recover. 2 lives, eerily mirrored, gone under chillingly similar circumstances. Fans have long debated whether this was cosmic coincidence or something far more sinister. Jaguar Wright has pushed that suspicion further, alleging both were sacrifices, their tragedies bound to a man with too much control over their destinies. That man is Clive Davis, whose name seems to carry a shadow wherever it appears. And then came Suge Knight, speaking from prison, who casually dropped a bombshell that Clive Davis and Diddy weren't merely associates, but lovers.
It's a young man who swears to God that he loves my niece, but yet you drag her up the steps, you pull her by her hair. You pull her by her hair and you punch her in the face and you knock 2 of her teeth out of her mouth.
The web only grows more tangled. In his own memoir, Clive Davis revealed he came out as bisexual after decades of high-profile marriages, a detail that suddenly gives Suge Knight's explosive claim a glimmer of plausibility. Layer that with Jaguar Wright's allegation that Diddy was once groomed as Clive's personal toy, and the story no longer feels like idle rumor. It begins to look like a map of hidden transactions, a network of power plays stretching back generations.
With no training in music,
None.
did you think you'd be good at this?
I never thought I would have a musical ear. I never thought I'd have a natural gift.
And then we turn to Diddy, no longer making headlines for music but for raids, lawsuits, and accusations threatening to collapse his empire. Homeland Security stormed his LA and Miami mansions, hauling out bags of evidence. Former insiders like Derek Parker, once part of the hip-hop cops, insist the feds don't move like this unless they already have something solid. Yet, amid the chaos, one bizarre detail caught fans' attention. Diddy's $40 million Home Hills estate boasts a lagoon-style pool linked to an underwater tunnel. When agents swarmed, he was nowhere to be found, and instantly, theories exploded online. Did he slip through the tunnel? Did it hide evidence or people before the raids? It reads like Hollywood fiction, but for a man who built his empire on charm, intimidation, and a history of dodging consequences, from nightclub shootings to executive brawls, the idea of a literal escape hatch feels symbolic. This time, though, with lawsuits mounting, federal agents circling, and his own insiders flipping, the question lingers. Even with a tunnel, can Diddy escape now?
Music is unique. Music is special. Music has a very individual, meaningful role in society, not only to you.
So, what happens when all these threads intertwine? A staged hotel suite. A mogul accused of rituals and sacrifices. Another titan hiding inside a mansion that feels ripped from a villain's blueprint. Suddenly, Whitney Houston's tragedy no longer looks like an isolated accident. It feels like the first crack in the wall of an industry fortress, a crack that may finally be splitting wide open. The question haunting everyone is simple. Who inside that fortress still holds the key to her untimely death? For years, whispers of a hidden vault have circled the industry, but now they grow louder, and they lead straight to Clive Davis. Multiple insiders claim he maintains a private archive, a library of recordings, documents, and videos powerful enough to ruin the careers of some of the biggest stars he ever signed. They allege this vault contains compromising material on Whitney, proof that she was pressured, cornered, and even blackmailed into submission. If that vault exists, it isn't history, it's leverage. Insurance. A silent chain locked around the throats of those who ever thought about speaking out.
She just said she was in denial on that occasion. And she said it's not as serious as you make out.
We need to remember that Clive Davis's grip on his artists was legendary. He discovered them, molded them, and in many ways owned their careers. Whitney Houston was his crown jewel, the centerpiece of his empire. But control always comes with a cost. When Jaguar Wright accused Clive of introducing Whitney and her daughter Bobby Christina to dangerous substances, alleging he abused them at parties and held blackmail material over their heads, it sounded unthinkable. Yet if the whispers about his vault are true, decades of hidden recordings, compromising photos, and private contracts, then Whitney's spiraling downfall may not have been entirely her own doing.
I could be attracted to a man, while I still am very attracted.
And it isn't just Whitney Houston. Whispers say the vault holds tapes and files on dozens of artists, each one a scandal waiting to ignite. That could explain why Clive Davis's reputation has remained untouchable, floating above chaos while others collapsed. Suge Knight's claim that Clive and Diddy shared more than business ties only deepens the suspicion. If two of music's most powerful men were bound not only by contracts but by secrets, then maybe the vault isn't just Clive's alone. It may be a safeguard for an entire network of insiders.
And her and Clive had a fight 2 days before. And from what I was told, Bobby Christina was present for some of that fight.
The timing of Whitney Houston's death and Clive Davis's pre-Grammy Gala has haunted fans for years. But when viewed through the lens of symbolism, it feels almost sinister. Just hours after Whitney was found lifeless in her suite, the ballroom below filled with glittering gowns and tuxedos, champagne flowing as if nothing had happened. To many, this wasn't just bad taste, it was a declaration of power. It signaled that even the fall of his brightest star couldn't halt the rhythm of Clive's empire. The show went on.
Strictly for the purposes of financial gain for those who have access to her estate, including Clive Davis.
Including Clive Davis.
We have to ask whether the party was destined to continue no matter what. The entertainment industry thrives on spectacle, and what greater spectacle could there be than Whitney Houston's death casting a shadow over Clive Davis's gala? Reporters scrambled for details while guests sipped champagne, creating a perfect storm that placed Clive at the center of both grief and glamour. Some see coincidence, others choreography, a tragedy timed with a high-profile event guaranteed to dominate headlines. Whitney's absence became a haunting presence, a reminder that the machine of fame never stops. Whether by fate or design, her passing was folded into the ritual of Grammy weekend, forever linking her legacy to Clive's party. To some, the gala felt less like insensitivity and more like a coded message. Power belongs to the mogul, not the artists. As mourners lit candles outside, the elite inside clinked glasses and made deals, proving tragedy could be commodified as easily as a hit single. The show went on, and that was the point.
Leola Brown, Bobby Brown's sister, has said on several occasions that she was beat.
The Beverly Hilton became the ultimate symbol of contradiction. Grief upstairs, celebration downstairs, silence colliding with music. To many, this wasn't coincidence but orchestration, the clearest sign that the industry runs on ruthless continuity. Stars may fall, but the gala shines on. The timing of Whitney Houston's death suggests her final hours were absorbed into the machine not as tragedy alone, but as both fuel and warning.
Never apparent to me. Any meeting I had with her, any interchange I had with her, she was on top of.
While Clive Davis's alleged archive suggests control through leverage, Diddy's shadow takes us somewhere even darker. For years, whispers have circled about his so-called cleaner network, a team of operatives who erase scandals before they ignite. They bury evidence, silence witnesses, and keep the ugliest truths locked away from the public eye. Now, with federal raids tearing through his mansions and lawsuits piling up, those whispers sound less like gossip and more like the missing puzzle piece. If Diddy truly relied on such a network, the chilling question is unavoidable. Could those same cleaners have touched Whitney Houston's final hours?
Did you at any stage think I may never sing again?
I never thought I wouldn't. I couldn't. I just didn't want to.
Consider the original accident report. Sparkling bottles left in plain sight, a spoon and foil neatly arranged, details inconsistent with her toxicology. Now imagine a specialized crew, trained to arrive first, rearrange a scene, and sanitize it before authorities ever cross the threshold. Years later, eyewitnesses recalled unfamiliar figures moving through the hallways near Whitney's suite. People who didn't belong, who somehow slipped away unnoticed. Were they the so-called cleaners? Operatives ensuring that nothing incriminating tied back to the wrong hands. The FBI is now reportedly exploring whether these whispers connect to a broader pattern of interference in cases linked to powerful music executives. If true, Whitney's death scene wasn't merely tragic. It was curated, rewritten, a carefully adjusted narrative. The link grows sharper when you consider Diddy's record. Time and again, he has walked away untouched from scandals that should have ended his career, from nightclub shootings to violent altercations, while others took the fall. Former NYPD Detective Derek Parker put it plainly, he has a very questionable past that he's been able to control because of his power for a very long time. Was that power simply money and influence? Or was it the quiet efficiency of a cleaner network making inconvenient evidence vanish? And if such a network truly existed, wouldn't it also serve allies, possibly even reaching into the Beverly Hilton on the night Whitney was found? The weight of these rumors is staggering because they suggest Whitney's passing was not the final act of a sad decline, but a single chapter in a much longer story of manipulation, cover-ups, and ruthless control.
Located her body inside this hotel. So far, police and the coroner are refusing to offer details about what may have caused her tragic.
What makes this even more disturbing is how close we might be to answers, yet how carefully those answers seem to be buried. If Clive Davis's vault truly exists, it could contain the receipts, tapes, files, contracts that prove years of quiet manipulation. If Diddy's rumored cleaner network played a role, it could explain the strangely staged elements of Whitney's hotel suite. Together, these possibilities sketch a picture of an industry where no tragedy is too sacred to exploit and no star too bright to be dimmed when the powerful feel threatened. Whitney's legacy, then, forces us to look deeper.
I believe that there are several people that wanted Bobby Christina, but I think the purpose of her was to gain full access to Whitney Houston's estate.